The headline for our story is Athens residents take action to move District 2 special election. The story's main focus is on the District 2 special election that will take place on March 21st, 2023. The Inner East Athens neighbors located in the District 2 are petitioning for a special election to replace Mariah Parker sooner than March. Several elected officials, including Commissioner Link and Mayor Gertz, are under fire by the East Athens community members for waiting to replace Parker. So the news values of the story are timeliness because the issue has not yet been resolved, and the Inner East Athens community is still petitioning for representation. This is a very local story as well because it is affecting a vast amount of people in Athens, specifically those in District 2, which is over 12,000 people in their population that are currently going without representation. And then there's a lot of conflict with this story as well, as the Inner East Athens community is angry with the local government for not doing their job and filling that vacancy in the commissioner position. So a little bit of background information. The Athens-Clarke County District 2 Commissioner Mariah Parker resigned on August 31st, leaving the district without a commissioner. The Athens Board of Elections made a majority vote to have a special election for the vacancy on March 21st, 2023. On October 4th, a lawsuit was filed by representatives of Inner East Athens neighborhood against the Board of Elections, demanding that vacancy to be filled immediately. The suit requested a writ of mandamus, which orders a government official to fulfill their duties. This request would allow for a commissioner to take the position on November 8th, which is when regular elections were held. But this request was denied, and members of Inner East Athens have petitioned the government and protested on the steps of City Hall to make their voices heard. So some of the characters we wanted to focus on are Dr. Shanice Allen, who's the president of Inner East Athens Neighbors, and she's kind of the head of this position in wanting to get the election moved. Dexter Wimbish is the lawyer for the Inner East Athens lawsuit and is kind of dealing with all the legal actions that the organization is trying to put in place to request representation. And then Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections is kind of at the center of the whole issue because they're the ones that are deciding when the elections will take place. Mayor Kelly Gertz is also under fire for colluding with some commissioners to have the election on March 21st for the personal gain of certain commissioners. And he's also filling the vacancy of the commissioner while there is that vacancy until the special election. But a lot of District 2 residents are upset because he's not addressing some of the issues within the district. And then Athens-Clarke County Board of Commissioners is also under fire because certain commissioners are trying to keep the election in March for personal gain as well. So the first news article we found was from the Red and Black, which is about how the Inner East Athens neighbors are continuing to push for a November 8th special election. And it kind of goes into depth more about Dr. Allen and the work she's doing and protesting this issue. And then the second article is from Flagpole, which is about the judge's decision to deny the lawsuit and keep the election in March. The next article is about the initial meeting where people voiced their concerns about the replacement for Mariah Parker. And then the last article talks about the redistricting that will take place at the beginning of 2023 and how it will affect voters. And specifically, it goes into depth about minority voters and how the people in District 2 will be affected about voting in the next special election. So some of our sources are District 2 residents, such as Dr. Allen and Melissa Darden. These residents are relevant to the story because they're giving insight into how the community is dealing with this vacancy in commissioner and some of the work they're doing to try to get that position filled. And then the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections is also under fire for this issue. The Inner East Athens Neighbors is the organization kind of dealing with this issue. And they're trying to push forward to get this position filled. And then the Athens-Clarke County Commissioners are relevant because they're bringing valuable insight into kind of what's going on with the situation and giving thoughts on Mariah Parker's resignation. And then Dexter Wimbish, who again is the lawyer of Inner East Athens, is kind of giving process or insight into the legal processes going on. Some of the calls we made were to Dr. Allen, who kind of went over the situation, gave her thoughts on Mariah Parker leaving. We also called the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections and Mayor Gertz, both of which we could not get in touch with. And then the Athens Clarke County Board of Commissioners, we called 3 of the commissioners, 2 did not answer, and 1 politely declined an interview. So for our data, this first piece on the left shows the percentage of the district populations that are racial minorities. This data was found on Athens Clarke County Open Data website, but we put it into Google Sheets to kind of visualize it. And as you can see, District 2 is over 50% is of racial minority. And one of our sources talked about how like voting will specifically affect kind of how voting affects racial minorities, and therefore will kind of impact the special election. And then the data on the right is, it shows the current district lines for District 2 and the remapping of District 2 that will take place in January. And then as you can see, it really changes the shape and therefore will affect the people who are able to vote in the March special election. And then this last piece of data, it is the most recent we could find for a special election of a commissioner in Athens. And if you can see, it says 16.1%. That's how many people voted for the special election. And that's just District 2 or District 10 votes. And a lot of people are worried that having a special election will affect voter turnout. And as you can see from this example, it's typically shows a very low percentage of voter turnout. And then for our audiovisual elements, on the left, we have a picture of Dr. Allen speaking out on Athens City Hall and petitioning and protesting the stuff that's happening. And then in the middle, that's again, Dr. Allen, who went on a podcast to kind of talk about the situation and what's going on and their works to get representation. And then we also attached the audio file to the Board of Election calling a special meeting to discuss when the special election will take place.